We are living in the golden age of
I
surveillance.
would just recommend using a normal shielded Zcash wallet on your phone.
So, hello and welcome. We have our guest today on to speak about Zingo. So, we'll start with Hazel. If you could give an introduction of who you are and your role at Zingo.
Hello, I am Hazel. I've been working with Zingo for the last 5 years. I started when we took over the Zingo mobile app, working on mostly the back end of that. The last few months, I have been primarily working on Zyno, but I'm still keeping an eye on Zingo.
Right. And for those that don't know, Zyno is like an indexer for Zcash, taking over like Wallet D. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Zyno will be the thing that Zingo connects to. So I'm coming at it from this meeting from the other side of the wire.
Yeah. And Oscar, we thanks for joining the call as well. If you could give a introduction and your role at Zingo.
Yeah. So I'm Oscar, and I've been mainly working on the wallet backend for Zingo. I'm always involved in other bits and bobs, pulled off other bits and bobs, but that's been my main work. And yeah, a lot of the test infrastructure also in the kind of Rust and some native layer of the Zingo mobile as well. And I think since a lot of our resources have gone to Zyno, I've kind of mostly stayed on with the wallet development. So I've sort of been I suppose the primary developer there, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so it seems
Zingo 2 and the new Sync engine.
Yeah, so the Zingo Labs team has like a bunch of people working on many different things. It seems like there's Zyno and Zingo. Is there anything else that people might not know about that your team is working on?
Yeah, I suppose our team's kind of divided into, and we cross over a lot, but there's the mobile development, like the Android and iOS, which then consumes the back end Zingo lib, the wallet library. Then there's Zyno, which is the server side, the indexer, and there's also people who primarily focus on sort of test infrastructure, mainly related to Zyno currently, but crossover into the wallet side as well. And then there's a whole team who do a great job on trying to promote Zcash and Zingo, and also help like the main help with testing, especially like manual testing for releases and stuff. So they do a great job in promoting us and making sure that it's doing the right thing and giving us great feedback. Which is like another Zingo Lab that's kind of, I suppose there's two.
Yeah. Did you have something to add, Hazel?
I was just trying to think about, like, let's see, we did some collaboration with the ZWith, like the Zcash wallet interchange format.
Activator stuff as well.
Yeah, so there have been a few other Zingo projects. That's the first one that comes to mind. I think Zyno and the Zingo wallet are all we have going currently, but there's a few other things in the works and little things that wrapped up recently.
Wait,
Okay.
we're a little limited on resources, but we would love to continue to develop Zexcavator, because there's definitely some things missing from that which we're really passionate to add. But
Yeah.
putting
Maybe
myself
we
as
can.
then.
Yeah, we could dive into Zexcavator and the whole collaboration with Blockchain Commons in later on in the interview. But for now, let's focus on Zingo 2.0. And so I'm assuming there's a 1.0. Can we discuss like the motivation for this upgrade?
Well, I don't know, Hazel, maybe it was like a year and a half ago or something. We both went out to Colorado. We were sort of wanting to have like a big Zingoista meet up with some of the members. So we decided to meet there. And we and Hazel were staying in an Airbnb there. And, Hazel's very knowledgeable on this stuff, and I have a lot of questions. So I was like annoying her over the week. We've lost the question. No, you never got annoyed, but I was asking many questions, and she was great at imparting her knowledge onto me. And a lot of that was based around the sync, because the sync engine Zingo 1 had we're not particularly happy with. And it's not just that it's slow and lacking features, it was kind of entangled into the wallet, so it also made feature development very slow, and was just a bit of a pain. So I think that those conversations were really inspiring for like how we could do it, like how could we implement like something that's pretty optimal with the technology we have. But then there was also the motivation of like, man, if we could implement this, obviously the users are going to have a much better experience, but it actually means that we can start implementing new technologies without all the technical debt that we kind of acquired from when we inherited the code. And kind of there was some bolting on, wasn't there, Hazel, of stuff? Because of the foundation we had.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had something to add there.
I was just saying that the code base of the original sync was old when we got our hands on it, and then a lot of the upgrades, or at least the earlier upgrades that I did to it, I was really flying by the seat of my pants, and it just led to this like tangled gargantuan there were function signatures that were longer than most functions I like to write. Like it was a mess. And yeah,
yeah, I understand that it's PepperSync that solves this, or is the new upgraded sync engine.
yes.
So what is a sync engine? Anyone?
Well,
So how do we not get too technical?
yeah, that's the question that is going in my head. So all transactions that have ever happened in Zcash are on the blockchain, and a sync engine is like the process that you run to keep your wallet up to date with all of the new transactions that are constantly happening.
Okay. And so, yeah, I am aware that many different wallets sync differently. So if you go onto zechub.wiki/wallets, it'll actually show you each wallet's different method of syncing. And so, yeah, in what ways does PepperSync differ from, say, like DAG sync or Warp sync? What are the differences there?
I think there is so I think from the offset with us, we wanted to have a large focus on like how the user is going to, like, not only making it fast, but having a decent toolkit of kind of state management. So we're kind of prioritizing certain parts of it, so users can find the funds faster and make them spendable faster. And DagSync, the original, I'm not sure if it was a zip or a paper that I think Strad wrote, was one of the things that inspired these conversations in Colorado a year and a half ago. So we were very aware of some of the ideas that were going around about how you could do these kind of things. So it was very much integrated into our design decisions. So I think from that perspective, DagSync, as in, imagine you're kind of referring to the ECC's backend sync engine. There's probably going to be a lot of similarities there. Our sync is in memory. We'd like to do the work to support persistent wallets as well, which is probably pretty close. But it is a crate in its own right, so that, use it if someone has a wallet that they want to, they want to create a wallet and they need a sync engine. If it's in memory, they can use it as it is, or integrate it in their current wallet. So the in memory makes it faster, and maybe some other decisions we made. There's lots of kind of parallelization and concurrency, which when I last went through the DagSync code, maybe it isn't as parallelized. So I think there might be a speed, but I think that the DagSync definitely has this idea of trying to prioritize certain ranges for scanning and trying to make these notes spendable through the use of some of their other technology that we're using, like shard tree, the incremental Merkle tree stuff. Y-Wallet is just a beast in terms of trial decryption. Like, it's very well optimized. But I don't believe some of these kind of features I don't think it leverages sort of shard tree and these kind of ideas as much. At least the last time I checked.
Yeah,
You're wrong now.
just to ask, so is like the implementation of these things one of the main like user experience issues that people would come across is when they have funds from a long time ago. And so does PepperSync Zingo 2.0 make it faster for people to like recover their funds from a long period back?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different cases, so it's kind of like hard to kind of give you like a single answer. I suppose it's much easier to answer that for a specific case. But for example, it has the wallet has lots of different things. The sync engine has lots of things it can do to find funds quickly and make them spendable quickly. It is a non-linear sync engine, so it's not just going to start from the block that you created the wallet and then just go through to the latest block. It's going to choose which parts it's going to scan depending on the information it has. So a good example is if you're rescanning your wallet, for whatever reason, the wallet already knows where at least the vast majority, if not all, of its transactions are already. So it can put those scan targets into the sync engine before it starts for the rescan. So it's going to prioritize those notes, and then when those notes are synced, it's going to work out which protocol those notes are from, and then prioritize the shards, which is, maybe we'd have to explain what that is, but prioritize the bits it needs in order to make that note spendable as quickly as possible as well.
Right.
So yes, there is some things it can do, and that's why DagSync is a super important technology. Is this idea of finding spends and then syncing those notes first. So you find you find somewhere where a note you have is spent, and then you then sync that area before anything else. This is very much in our minds when we design the sync engine. The unfortunate thing is we're still awaiting development on the server side to be able to fully unlock that. But it does use that to a degree, but hopefully in the future we'll have a way that wallets can use information from the server to learn where its spends are without giving up any information in a completely private way.
Right. So would this be, I forget the term, something discovery?
Like spend discovery it's like it's to do with nullifier mapping. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. There's been talk of possibly using a Bloomfill, or I think Chris from ECC prefers the idea of maybe compressed bitmaps. Obviously, maybe this is getting too technical, but it's the idea of condensing a set that's far too large for a wallet to download or hold in a mobile device. It's just, it's a massive data set. Condensing that down into something that's that a small mobile application can manage and still find the information it needs.
Yeah, when you said server side, it kind of seems like much of the work you're doing is like closely interlinked. Like what the work on Zingo mobile app is doing, like, depends on the capabilities of Zano. I think the term that I was forgetting was oblivious message retrieval.
Yeah. Yes. Bloom filters and the other thing you mentioned, that bitmap, are both mechanisms for oblivious message retrieval, which I know there's been talk about implementing in Light Wallet D, and now that we're replacing with Zyno, there's been talk about putting them into Zyno too. But right now, like, we haven't even settled on a mechanism for how that might work. So that's a nice to have that I'd love to implement once a mechanism is decided on.
Right. Yeah, it kind of seems as well like the approach that Zingo is taking is handling like the fundamental experience of a wallet first. So like if you have a wallet, you want to be able to access your funds in like a very user-friendly way. Like you're not going to have issues. But there are some other improvements like the UI. I have tested Zingo 2.0 and yeah, there are a significant amount of changes that were made. Like the big one is like the default UI is super basic. It's just a shielded address, essentially. Yeah, could you talk about the design decisions and the motivations for like having this super basic, user-friendly UI?
Yeah. I think a really big motivation for Zingo is just to you shouldn't have to be a Zcash power user, right? A lot of the decisions are just, how do we make it as basic as possible? How do we don't want people to have a really strong knowledge of exactly what transactions or outputs are, or what all these things are. We just want them to be able to use this technology as effectively as possible. So a lot of the time we sort of slim down the feature sets to one, give the user a lot of so they can be a lot more effective in just doing the things that they need to do, but then also just kind of give them a bit more consent to there's certain decisions we made where we don't necessarily want to do a lot of things for them. We want to make it as simple as we can, but we don't want to do everything for them. So we also give options to say, hey, this is a button, and we make it as simple as possible, but you have to click it to for example, diversified address is something we've implemented in Zingo 2, and it doesn't do this stuff automatically. We just kind of recommend them as saying, hey, it's here. We're making it easy for you, but you are in control, and you know what the wallet's doing. think it's making it simple, but also consensual, right?
Right.
Is our cornerstone.
Yeah.
And specifically you mentioned diversifiers, Oscar, and that is one of the biggest or one of the bigger wins for me from this new UI. Like the Zingo Lib library has supported generating diversified addresses for a long time, and we've been back and forth on how we want to implement a UI for them in the mobile app. And like we've finally it entailed, or I think it was part of the motivation for the redesign of some of those screens, was to make so that we could generate multiple addresses for a user and have that be intuitive to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think that, you know, the reason why a lot of these things have come about with the sync engine is, as we were saying earlier, there was so much entanglement, and as soon as we integrated the sync engine, so much of that entanglement was we were just so liberated from that we could then, that what followed from that is almost a rewrite. We went through pretty much all of the code and re-looked at it and tried to just make small improvements and add small features where they were necessary. So that, I think that's why Zingo 2 has, is quite a big change. Is it's not just the sync engine. The sync engine that allowed us to, really think about how we want the wallet to be, and therefore how the UI displays these things to the user.
So at one point, did Zingo have auto shielding? So as soon as you receive transparent funds, it would shield by itself with no user interaction. Did that exist?
If it did, it was a holdover from when we took over took it over from Zec Wallet Lite, and if it ever existed in Zingo, we got rid of it early on because it's a big privacy leak.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you get sent a transparent transaction and then immediately shield it, anyone looking at just all of the transactions on the Zcash chain has the opportunity to put two and two together and connect the shielding transaction to the transparent transaction. Whereas if there's a bit of time between them, like the random amount of time it might take a user to decide to shield their funds, that makes it a lot less linkable.
interesting. Yeah, I suppose the common conception you find, like on crypto Twitter, is that because shielding is like an intentional action that someone has to take, it could lead to like some misunderstanding where people think they have private Zcash and it's just transparent, staying in their transparent wallet, and they don't understand that they need to press the button. So yeah, it's just, kind of thoughts. So in the basic UI, it's an orchard address.
Yes.
It starts off as an orchard address, and then when you receive funds to that orchard address, it unlocks the history to show you the transaction you received and the send end screen. We allow to send to transparent, but we don't allow to send transparent funds.
Shielded by default.
Yes. And also the transparent is now safely hidden behind a danger zones, right? If you've used the new version to make it very explicit that the transparent funds are handled very differently, and transparent in general is handled very differently in Zingo.
Yeah. I think, these notifications and like the UI itself is super important. If people have something that they like to use, then they're more likely to use it. Yeah, so like prioritizing like the private aspects of it, yeah, very helpful. I'd like to talk about Zingo and its potential use of NIM. So at the moment, when someone sends a transaction, it's possible that a light wallet server could be gathering metadata, like IP addresses and such. So I do know that there was some collaboration between Zingo and NIM. Could you perhaps give some more detail there?
Yeah. So we were working with NIM when Zyno was originally just like a light wallet replacement. I think when it took on the work to become like the Zcash indexer, there was a lot of complications with keeping both of those projects. A combination of kind of limited resources and the technical aspect of implementing the new requirements for the indexer, and then also allowing them to work with NIM, which I think actually has since NIM's probably a little easier to integrate now. I think there's been a lot of work in that area, but I think back then it was very much like we were testing the water with NIM in at least in Zcash. So we're super passionate about our work, and it's something that we want to continue with. It was just been I think Zyno, the project itself has been a lot. So having NIM on top of that is a lot, but I think NIM's a real priority for us.
Yep. And for those like who might be curious, so there is Zashi, and at the moment, I think they're working on some Tor integration. What's the difference between NIM and Tor?
Tor is base. Now, it's been a while since I studied Tor, so it's possible that some of this is misconception, but my understanding of Tor is that anyone who is running Tor is sending messages into like a network of everyone running Tor, and then it gets bounced around a bunch between different nodes in the network before it leaves. So if you are just watching a single person who is using Tor, you lose any ability to make sense of their traffic. The issue with Tor is that if you have enough surveillance capability to watch every entry and exit point on Tor, then you can reassociate all of that information. So Tor will give you privacy if someone is trying to spy on you, but Tor's privacy guarantees might not hold up if like a national government is trying to spy on you.
Right. So NIM Mixnet avoids this somehow.
NIM Mixnet avoids this somehow. Now, NIM has some of its own issues, mostly in that it's much less tested technology stack than Tor is. So there's just hasn't been as thoroughly so there's more there's more room for there to be issues in it than Tor, I think, but I don't actually know of any serious network issues with NIM, and NIM has some features like random latency between packets and a few other things that at least make the specific attacks that Tor is vulnerable to a lot harder to perform against the NIM network.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to dive into like how NIM incentivizes its nodes, and if there's potential for like there to be some kind of ZSA incentivization of Zcash infrastructure, and if that would help the network in some way. But who knows? Maybe in future. But for now, one of the most important developments which has come about is multi-sig in Zcash wallets, Frost. So yeah, perhaps yeah, there's now Zcash, which is this multi-sig shielded thing. Does Zingo have any plans of implementing new features such as multi-sig transactions?
Yes, there are a lot of unanswered UI questions in terms of multisig, what multisig would look like. So that like true Frost multisig is a long way off. I know we're already talking about implementing. It's possible someone in Zingo has already started work on what's it called? Yeah, shared secret key recovery. So instead of needing like 3 of 5 signatories to send a particular transaction, you could like get together 3 of 5 shares in order to recover a wallet seed. So it's less ergonomic than true Frost support, but it is a step in the direction of being able to decentralize your key authority.
I think that we've been waiting for this point for a long time, really, where now we've finished Zingo 2. Now's where the fun starts, right? Like we can start really working on some of this technology that we've been wanting to implement for a long time. But the wallet just hasn't been in a state to accept it, really. Now we're like super happy with the foundation we have to take on these things, and we're hopeful to work with Blockchain Commons on the SSKR stuff and start some of the underlying cryptography there. I think is quite similar, or maybe even one of the foundations for Frost. So it's all going to be very useful.
I'm excited. I can't imagine having tried to implement Frost into our like tangled BlazeSync mess of a wallet.
Right. Yeah. I think like social recovery solves many of the issues in crypto in general. Like having full custody, sole custody of your funds sometimes isn't a great thing for everyone. And so yeah, for people to have the ability to hold their funds privately and also recover it safely is a big win. I'm looking forward to that as well. Yeah, so Zingo at the moment, Zingo 2.0 at the moment only available on mobile. Are there any plans for like a desktop release?
Zingo PC will follow. I'm not sure about the timeline on that. But there's also Zingo CLI. The tag is 2.0.0. So if for any CLI users, that's also undergone a bit of a transformation. It is due a rewrite. It's up there in our priorities, so I think that will also get better soon, but it's in pretty good shape. As an alternative, it has the ability to, you can save multiple and load up multiple wallets at once and stuff. So, Zingo Mobile is more kind of useful most of the time because it's it's the UI is nice and it's in your pocket, it's there all the time. But if you have to load a new wallet, it can be a bit of a pain. So if you're managing multiple wallets, I think Zingo is a pretty good option.
Yeah. Does Zingo have any plans of like integrations within the wallet? Say you want to perform a swap of some kind. Is the team strategizing around like in-wallet integrations?
We've talked about a few different in-wallet integrations. There's a lot of different in-app integrations that would just be a lot of, or at least enough work that we'd need a really good picture of things like the UI before we even went into it.
Yep.
So we've talked about a few different integrations. None have gotten out of the brainstorming phases that I'm aware of.
Right.
Unless you Frost as an in-wallet integration, which sort of it
Kinda.
If Frost counts as an in-wallet integration, then we're definitely interested in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Using Zingo, I found that for whatever reason, I seem to receive memos much faster than in other wallets. What's the secret source? What's happening there?
It's possible that the other wallets you're using aren't watching the mempool for incoming memos.
Right. Yeah,
There's the mempool, and we now the highest priority thing, other than making sure that reorg hasn't messed up your wallet, the highest priority thing is the chain tip. In the sync engine, it's gonna sync that first. So, when you start syncing, the first thing it's gonna do is look at the top of the chain.
Awesome. Yeah. I always recommend people, like, if messaging is your primary use case, like private messaging, you should probably use Zingo PC or the Zingo app. Like, it's much, much faster. And yeah, I'm actually interested in using this encrypted memo thing to do to make apps for Zcash. And I think the only viable method for most people, if they're interested in like diving into Zcash development, is Zingo Key, because you don't have to run a full node, and like a Zyno or Light Wallet D, you can just have Zingo Key and input a seed phrase and like a Light Wallet RPC, right? Yeah.
Yeah, especially for running around, like if you have multiple different like testnet wallets that you're toying around with, Zingo Clee just being able to point it at a wallet file is a better interface for switching wallet files than any of the like fully fledged apps I've tried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's next for Zingo? We've released 2.0. Is there like a feedback gathering process for like what users feel they'd like in the next upgrade? Or yeah, how's the team going about like moving forward post 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be awaiting feedback in terms of the improvements we make next, other than just like the major wallet features and technologies we want to be implementing. A lot of it comes from the Zingo Labs Espanol team. They're really on the ground. They do great work working out how the users are interacting with it, like what they're kind of struggling with, what they like, what they don't like. But then we also have the the element channel and things like this. So there's and obviously any like debug any bugs and issues come through through the mobile support. So we have a few different avenues for like how things are going. And yeah, I think it's landed. It seemed to have landed pretty well, considering that it's pretty much we've ripped out the core. We've basically replaced the core and then more or less rewritten everything else around it. I think that we're pretty happy with. It doesn't seem like anyone's having any major issues. So I think we've had releases in the past that were much smaller changes, obviously, that we've been hair on fire bug hunting for weeks. So yeah, I think the release has gone pretty well, and we'll wait for the feedback to see which way we go from a user
Awesome.
perspective.
Yeah, maybe a feature request. So it's amazing that there's payment URI detection using a camera. I haven't yet tested like links. I've forgotten what they're called. Like links from a browser where you click it and it detects the wallet. But yeah, one feature request would be, is there some way to get Zingo into Wallet Connect so that if I have an online app and someone clicks Wallet Connect, that it finds Zingo on my device?
Wallet Connect.
I believe that's something that a couple of members on Kianetics and were discussing these kind of things. It's very much there as a main for these kind of features. I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but these things definitely have come up, and there's I think that would be an obvious next step is to be including sort of smarter payments. As you say, I think that there was one included.
I hadn't even heard of Wallet Connect.
Yeah, I think it's used mostly for like smart contract type platforms.
We were Edixon was mentioning about I think it's to do with the price stuff. So I had a little look into it, but I don't know a lot about it.
Speaking about price, Zingo 2.0 now fetches prices privately.
It has a Tor option, yes. So you can fetch price the same way as before, or you can fetch it by a Tor.
Yeah. Right. And where does it fetch the price from?
It has like I can't remember exactly which exchanges, but I think it fetches them from like five of the main exchanges. I think it's probably gonna be like Binance and
Gemini.
etc. And then it averages them. That was actually, I don't want to take credit for that. That was great work done by like the ECC engineers that we've used as the client backend. But we have done a bunch of work on the price list stuff, which we haven't released yet. Mainly, it's down to the UI side of things. And we were actually trying to not really add any new features with Zingo 2. Those are to come. We were just sort of trying to create a really stable platform to move forward from. But some things just kind of made sense to include in this release. But yeah, we hope to actually be doing more with the pricing as an option. It would be nice to have prices on transactions, so you know how much you received at the time or sent at the time, and then to have other currencies and stuff. But it's kind of like we put privacy first, so like there's been a lot of sort of back and forth in terms of what the best way to do this is without something that makes it accurate enough to the user that it doesn't cause issues, like the inaccuracies don't cause issues, but is not compromising the user's privacy. Yeah, it's something that's ongoing.
I think it's pretty cool that Zingo is using like some features developed by ECC, like having this collaboration between like wallets could be really, really good for the ecosystem.
Yeah, sure.
What about language support on Zingo?
It's Hazel, you might know more than me. It's definitely something that's come up a lot in terms of like UniFFI and moving that into Zingo.
Oh,
Language support, as in like spoken languages.
I'm like in the. You tell that I'm not a frontliner when it comes to I'm definitely heads down in the code. Yes, we've just added Turkish actually.
wow. Cool.
So yeah, we're adding them as we go. There's a really nice. I don't know too much. Wonky knows this better, but there's a nice sort of platform we have for that to collaborate with people who want to donate their time to help us add new languages.
Yeah,
really cool. It was really helpful that we wanted to add Turkish and I can't remember his name unfortunately right now, but he donated his time to help us do that, which is really
Batuhan. Maybe.
yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, I had something I was just about to mention, but it slipped my mind. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's cool that there's ways that the community can get involved in Zingo and like help the project. And yeah, I think I'll be jumping into the channels. So you mentioned there's an element channel where like we could make feature requests or like bugs.
Yeah.
Mention bugs.
I'm not sure if we could put a link up here somehow. Zingo Labs with a capital Z, capital L, no space. And then obviously, really useful to us. Obviously, a lot of people aren't familiar with GitHub, but GitHub has an issues interface, so you could go on our GitHub. Like the GitHub, like if it's, let's say you're using our mobile app, you can go on Zingo-mobile on GitHub. It's all part of the Zingo Labs organization, and you can leave an issue there as well, and that's something that we're following quite closely.
Right. Yeah. I also need to ask for users who are on F-Droid, is it possible to use Zingo Mobile there as well?
We've been wanting an F-Droid release for a while. F-Droid has some additional constraints that the Google Play Store doesn't, like builds need to be completely reproducible, and they're mostly things that we want anyway. Like the F-Droid is not, I think, asking for anything unreasonable, but I know some people have been working on an F-Droid release. I don't know how much work is still needed for that, but yes, we do really want to get on F-Droid.
That'd be awesome. Oh,
Guideline.
Nice. Well, it's been like a pleasure speaking with Oscar, Hazel. Thank you so much for joining. I'd recommend everyone to download Zingo 2.0, give it a try, and leave some feedback in the element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, and like Zingo is a huge team. I hope to speak to some of the other members on the team pretty soon. So more to come.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Have a good day.